Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today at Juanette's Crafting Corner. In today's video, I thought I would show you my favorite way to make dangles for a journal. Here's one. I try to put one on each signature. Here's another one. It's some doves. And then the last one is down here. It is, looks like a vintage comb. So let's get started and let me show you what I've learned over the years on the best way to make these. So what I start out with is some coffee dyed scrapbook paper. And I like to use the scrapbook paper because number one, it is thick and it can look very vintage if you coffee dye it. So some of this is Stampin' Up! Paper. And I start out with folding it over. And let me tell you some of the other supplies you're going to need. So you're going to need some thicker scrapbook paper. You are going to need some of these. Let's see, I've got gold, I've got silver, I've got like a brass colored one. You're going to want the ones that have a loop at the end. See, I've got several. Here's a copper color. Yes, you don't want the stick pin ones, and you don't want these that you don't have anything to hook the charm onto. Okay, so you need these. Those are called eye pins. And various lengths are okay, but do you see how they have a loop at the end? That's what you're going to need. These. I will link these in the description box for you guys. So you're going to need some of those. You are going to need some, what are these called? Let's see if I open up my box, if I can. Jump rings. Yes, that's what they're called, jump rings. And again, I have the different colors. I've got gold, I've got silver, I've got black, I've got antique ones. I bought this one off of Amazon. It even has the rose gold. So you're going to need some jump rings. You're going to need either pliers or what I have is hemostats, but you need to open up the jump rings. You might want to have a corner punch, a round corner punch, maybe a pair of wire cutters, because on the one with the hair comb, it was too long for the paper, so I had to cut it down, the wire. So a pair of wire cutters. And then this little tool here, it's a punch. I'm going to hold it up close and hopefully you guys will be able to see. Do you see it is smaller than, let me pull out the other punch that you can buy. This is the regular size hole punch. This is a micro one, a tiny, probably 1/8 inch. So you're going to need one of those. I suppose the other thing you could do is just use a pokey tool. That would work. I have a bone folder. I have a pair of scissors. And then you're also going to need some double-sided tape and then various charms that you may want to put on the end of your dangles. So those are the supplies you're going to need. Now to start with, what I do is I cut my paper. I cut my paper and I decide what little ring, I don't know what these are called. I'll investigate. But you need to have the ring be able to fit in here. Now this one is too long, so I need to trim it off. And so I'm just going to take my wire cutters here and cut that. And then that should work here. You want it to be able to sandwich in between the paper. And then let's use this yellow flower here. So I'm going to cut it to, oh, let's see, however, that is maybe 3/4 of an inch, just under an inch. So you're going to fold it over and then cut it the size of your little ring here. Then you're going to snip out, let me get rid of that because I don't need that anymore. Then you're going to snip a hole here. So about center, but just on the edge. Do you see how that is? Let me hold it up. It's a semicircle here, okay? And then you're going to take your little thing here with the ring on the end, and you're going to slip it in between the paper, the two pieces of cardstock. And then you want to take double-sided tape and adhere that down. And what I tend to do is kind of mass make these bases. And then they're all set and ready to go for when I want to add a charm. Depending on the journal I'm going to use will determine what kind of charm I want to use. Let's see. I don't know why that's not cutting. And I just lay like 3 pieces of the double-sided tape down. Just to hold that in place. Okay, so you see you have that ready to go. Now what we want to do is get a jump ring to have on the end of that, and this matches, so we'll get one of these. This was a handy little thing here. And then the other thing is, now I want to get the charm that I'm going to put on the end of this. So there's my jump ring and then a charm. And I think an antique key would look good. Let's see if I have any in this container. I've got all kinds of things, but I don't have any keys over here. So I have another box of things, and these are all keys of different sizes. So we don't want too big, but we want it to be big enough to where it's proportional to here. This is, let's see about that. That might work. I might want a little bit bigger one. Let's see. This may be too big. That may be too big for a journal. Oh, this is a pretty one. I like this one. Yeah, let's do that one. And where did this go? There. Okay. And then the other thing is, let's go ahead and round off these corners. And I just used the smallest round, the smallest corner rounder there. No, it's not getting in there. Come on, there we go. It took a little bit there. And then, I don't know if, yeah, it might fit there. You can corner round the edge there. I should have done it before I put that little thing on there, but it did it. Let's see if I can get this in more. Yeah, okay. So then we corner round it. And actually, because this is a longer, bigger dangle or charm, I think I want a longer jump ring. Maybe one of these that are oval. Either that one or that one. Maybe this bigger one here. That way it will hang down better. I think I got these at Michael's. So then you're going to twist these apart. Now, when you use a jump ring, you do not pull it apart. The best way is to twist it open like that. Don't try to pull it apart. Then you just add it on your loop, and then whatever little dangle you're going to have on, and then you twist it back together. Yeah, you twist those together. Okay, you don't want to squeeze it. If you need to, just make sure you squeeze it ever so slightly. Now there, I went too far. So I need to open that up a little bit. There you go. Okay, so then that's our dangle. Now the other thing you can do is then add some kind of decoration. Now what I would do for this one is I would put this on a sheet of paper that is on this side, because you don't want to put it this way because then the flowers are upside down. You want to put it this way. So this one is ready to go. At least this is nice there. You could add a picture on this side. Let's see if I can find something from my things from Medieval Mirage that would go on there. So it's a key. What do we want? You could have book page for one thing. Let's see. And it's kind of yellowish there, so I want to keep kind of the same color scheme. Let's see. Here's some really pretty little things. Let's see. They're little squares. Would that work good? Let's just cut it and see. so we're going to have it on the page like that. So then you're going to flip this over this way. You could do that. I don't know if I like that. I really don't. Let's see what else we could do. You could do a word. Let's just keep turning the pages. Here's an oval. No, I don't like that. I may just leave that plain. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay, I like that. We've got the flowers, the yellow flowers there. Let's add this. And we could do one on the other side too. We're going to ink it up ever so slightly, just to get rid of any white that might be there. And then add some glue. That looks like that's the, no, it goes like that. Okay. I want to make sure I have the right orientation, and we're just going to add that there. Now, won't that look pretty on a journal page? I like that. That looks really nice there. Yeah, very nice. So let's make another one, and let's get a different piece of paper. Let's do some pink here. I've got this piece of paper here. What we're going to do is fold it over. And then we have our nice floral image there. I'm going to come in here and trim it up. And then let's do gold this time. So pull in one of our gold pieces, and you can make these papers as wide or as big as you want. This is a long one. We could go, let's see, let me get another piece here. Let's fold this so that we have the length we want. We're just going to fold our paper to the correct size of that, whatever those things are called. Okay, so we have that, and I want this to be even. Okay. Okay, so that's the correct size. What I'm going to do is bring you down a little bit closer while I work on this, just in case you couldn't see in the last part I did. Okay, so that's good. So we want to cut that, and let's just do 2 or 3. Let's see. While we're at it, let's do a little bit of a mass make here. And so the next thing is we're going to punch our small little holes our semicircle, and kind of you want it centered as best you can. This is a real big one. We're going to be able to put a big piece of an image on there. The next thing, let's do our corner rounding. And let's just go big. I'm doing it over my garbage can here. So I apologize, you guys can't see. And then on these, I'm going to do the medium size one. Same thing here. Okay, we've done our corner rounding. I'm going to get a little bit thicker double-sided tape. Okay, so let's start here. We're going to put this one in here. That one's ready to go. These look like the longer ones, so let's pull two of these out. Let's slide this one in here. Okay, and then the last one. And they're all ready then now for our double-sided tape. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is even get the bigger tape, because now I'm going to, since this is wide, I can do a long piece here. Okay, so that's that. And then our double-sided tape. Oh, that's perfect. And then I just take my fingers and I make sure that that tape is secured down well in between that wire. Now, the wire will probably not come out anyway, just because we're going to glue these two pieces together. Yeah, this is definitely better doing it like this. Okay, once again. Okay. And now, since my hook thing here is gold, I'm going to want gold jump rings and gold charms. So here's my gold charms. I do see a music note over here. That can be one. Let's see. I have here, this is fun. It says, well-behaved women rarely make history. Haha, that's funny. Let's just do that. And then I have a gold butterfly. Yeah, that actually is almost like a rose gold. Here's another butterfly. Is that rose gold? Yeah, it is. Let's see here. Oh, I like this. This almost looks like a royal emblem. Okay, and then let's bring in our jump rings. And once again, we want to keep the same color, so we're going to use gold. I've got Let's see here. This is quite big there. I think I've got a big one there. Yeah, that one's bigger. The oval ones are really nice. Those work really well. Okay, so then we're going to open up our jump ring. Twist it away from it. Slide it on that end. Add your little charm. And then close it back up. Now you could, if you want to, just leave them like this and have that as the decoration. But if you want it to coordinate with a journal, then you want to put some kind of a embellishment that matches the journal on there. And once again, because Jaff gives us so many wonderful small embellishments, those are perfect for that. Okay, we'll do the music note here. You hear Miss Fiona? I don't know why she's whining. She probably wants to get up in my lap. She's so funny. She thinks she's a lap dog. She weighs something like 40 pounds. But I'll be sitting here at my craft desk and she'll whine like that. And so I'll move back from the craft desk and tell her, come on. And she'll jump up on my lap. Then I have to fuss at her to say, sit down, Fiona. Oh, that may not fit. Oh, it just barely does. I don't know if I like that. That doesn't like lay nice. So I'm not going to use this one. Where are those charms? Let me pull them back up. You need something that is going to lay a little bit better. Here's some doves. A couple of little dove images. All right. There is some of our charms. And what I tend to do, I may have told you this, a lot of times I will go ahead and make them up to this point. Sometimes I've put cheesecloth on them, other little dangles you could add. There's a bee there. Die cuts, some beads. I've had beads on the end to where they stick out a little bit more. Here's one with some beads there. I should have done that on some of them. Look at that with the purple and the cheesecloth. So I get them to this point and then I have them in a little container and I'm able to then add whatever charm I want on them. I did create some off camera, but before I show them to you, I do want to remind you, when you go to put them on a page, make sure it is a thicker page and not something like this that is very fragile. So I've put that one there. Let's see. And then this one here, what I did to make this paper thicker is I folded it over a couple of times. And so that's nice and thick. And then the last one, again, here on this thicker piece of paper as opposed to this thin piece of paper. So let me show you some of the ones that I created off camera. So I did some blue ones with blue Stampin' Up! Retired paper. I added a couple of little gems in there. On this side, I added this lady, and then this has a clock. On this one, it has a butterfly. A lot of the things that I put on, these are from Medieval Mirage, her small little embellishments. I added some numeral numbers there and then just a small little embellishment there. Here's a couple of labels from the Rococo Rose kit and then the Arc de Triomphe. So those are my blue ones. I did a couple of pink ones. This one here has a small little embellishment. I did put some scrapbook, I mean, not scrapbook, I put ledger paper on there, and then book page here, and then just a small little Stampin' Up! Embellishment there. On this one with the two little swans, I have just a small little embellishment there. The same thing on this side with just a little bit of script there. On this one, I added a tiny bit of fabric, some script, a small little embellishment, and that is a music note. And then on the other side, again, a tiny little bit of fabric and some script. On this one, it has a rose here as the dangle, and then just a little label there. Again, a label on the opposite side. This one is a music note, a small little stamp there, another little stamp on that side. Now on this one here, I did add some beads here at the end. So what you do is before you thread it through the center here, you're going to add your beads on there. And then I have a butterfly there, just a small little label there, a little embellishment there, a picture there. I think I did another one. Yeah, this one had some beads on it. So I did both green and blue beads on it. This one has a tree of life dangle, a little bit of fabric, small little embellishment there, a little label there, and then just a oval dragonfly there. And then this one is one we did on camera. I just like those flowers there. So anyway, I hope these inspire you in some ways to use Medieval Mirage's small little embellishments, and also a way for you guys to add some dangles onto your journals. Thank you so much for joining me today at Juanette's Crafting Corner, and I will see you guys again soon. Thanks and bye-bye.